Hi everyone, welcome to HTML 101, and this is a first video in a series of videos that I'm going to go through the basics of the HTML language here. So if you want to build a website or you want to get into web development, this is a good place to start. So as usual, I'm going to be using the replit IDE here. I'm going to put a link in the description for those who want to sign up and use the platform. If you have created a platform and you want to follow along with this tutorial, you can just hit the create button here and look for the HTML, CSS, JS page here, put in a title you want and hit the create repo here. So I have created my own here. I'm going to open that up. And here we have it set up here, and we have a file that says here index.html. So if you know a bit about web pages, you know that index.html is usually the home page here. So we're just going to create a simple HTML file in this video. But before we do that, I'm going to talk about the basic building block of a HTML file, and that is what we call an element. So it is a HTML element, and to create a HTML element, you need to use the less than sign here and the element's name, and then a greater than sign here. So this IDE gives a pop-up here. So you have the opening tag, which we just created, and then we have the closing tag here. So as you can see, the closing tag just has a slash right after the less than sign here. And then in this HTML element, there will usually be a content. So right in the middle, we have a content that you want to display in the element. It can also have another element here. So you can have another child element here, and then maybe it has another content here. So you can also nest elements in another element here. So there are also some elements that are single tag elements that do not take a content, and usually it looks something like this, like an opening tag but just a slash in just right before the greater than sign here. So another thing I want to talk about in the elements is something called attributes. So attributes are basically just, you can think of it as the element settings. So you want some settings in an element and you can set it here. You can just have the attribute name here. So I'm just going to call it attribute, and if you want to set a value, you can just use the equal sign and inverted commas, and you can put the values here. And each element you can actually set multiple values, and you can just maybe have a name, another name value here, and these are for multiple attributes here. So also you have some attributes that don't need a value setting here. It's just a attribute there that basically says, okay, I want this to be in this mode. Maybe there is a low mode or something, and that is your HTML element attributes. So we now know how an element looks like. We're going to create a basic HTML file here. So to create a basic HTML file here, we're going to use the HTML5 version here. So in a HTML5 file here starts with a Doctype Declaration. So this Doctype Declaration is just a lesser than sign and an exclamation mark here, and followed by HTML here, and then a closing tag here, the greater than sign here. So what is a Doctype Declaration? So it's basically just a way to tell the browser what version that you are using, what version of HTML we are using. So like I previously mentioned, we're using HTML5 as the version, and since 2014 this is the only declaration that's been used. So if you are creating a website today, most likely you will be using this declaration here. So after the declaration, you're going to have your HTML element here. So that is what we call the root element, and then in the root element we will have our head element here. So this head element basically just house like information your web page has, or maybe some resources you need your web page to load. So an example of something that you would put in a head element would be the meta tag. And this is usually standard for every web page. You will have a character set attribute here, and you will put a UTF-8 character set here. So this is a single tag element, and this basically tells the browser, okay, I'm going to use the UTF-8 character set. And usually websites use this character set because it has almost everything, every language characters. So if you want to do something in Japanese or Chinese, most likely UTF-8 has that character encoded. So the next thing that you usually see in websites is another meta tag, and with a name of viewport, and we have content, and we are going to put here device. Now we're going to put width equal device. So in the value has another equal sign, with equal device width, and a comma with an initial scale equals to 1.0. So again, this is a single tag element here. This basically tells the browser, okay, I want the width of the web page to be the width of the device that is on. So if it's on a mobile, tablet, a desktop, I want you to use the device width, and I want it to be a scale of 1.0, so to make sure that the web page is not distorted. Okay, and the next one that is very common is the title tag here, the title element, which basically just shows what is the text that is going to be on the browser tab here. So I'm just gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna put in website title here, and that is usually what we see in the head element here. And then the next element will be the body element here. So in the body element is where you place your content. So if I'm just going to place a text here called content. Just going to run this, refresh the web view here. And there you have it, you have a text. So we have created our first HTML file here, and it just shows a text of content. And okay, you might think this is actually quite tedious. So you mean every time I create a web page, I'm going to have to type everything here? Yes, every web page needs to have this to be considered a suitable HTML file. But you know, luckily in today's age, we have a little bit more sophisticated text editors. So I'm going to show you a trick. So there is something called Emmet. It's sort of a text editor plugin, and if I'm not wrong, the Microsoft Visual Studio Code IDE has it already pre-installed, so you can use it like just after you downloaded it. For the replit IDE, you can just hit this gear icon, which is the settings here, and you want to look at the code intelligence setting here, and just make sure it is enabled here. So mine is already enabled. And what you want to do is you want to type in HTML : and then 5, and then hit the tab key. There you go, you just generated the standard HTML file document. You can just put the content here, and then you can run it here. So you have something that generates everything here. So now that we know the basic HTML elements to put in a document, we're going to start putting in content. And the most common content in web pages are text. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to mark up text in a HTML document here. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and also hit the bell for your notifications, and I will see you in the next video.